hard.
Blowjobs are a no for me.
It is a skill. It is a practice skill. It is a necessary skill. Ooh, great blowjob.
Secret to a great blowjob is saliva, saliva, saliva.
It's important for us to learn from this because I think we lose because we beat ourselves.
You need to swallow it too.
I understand the problem here.
The people don't understand esophagus is the main player of the game.
Try to stay away from it as much as I can.
You can start by licking the dip.
I didn't understand it, but
Patrick Agyemang to Bambi or a newborn giraffe or what.
All right, welcome to the Straight Red Card. That's probably the first time you've seen that intro, Alexi, but it's been out there for a couple months. So,
all right, it's all right. Yeah, pretty cool.
All right. Hey, Max is okay with it too. So if he's good with it, we're good with it. We kind of had that discussion about the whole Agyemang thing, and it was just a metaphor I used during one of our live calls.
Yeah.
Game, and it kind of spread, but it was an apt metaphor at the time because it kept falling down. But it wasn't meant to be personal, and we were the first people out there to say, hey, don't go to his page and post a bunch of crap. Anyhow, welcome to the show. Alexi, Lalas, thanks for coming back. It's been almost a year. It's been a little over a year. So we're happy to have you back. A lot has happened since then, obviously, but the host of the State of the Union show, if you don't know, right? So how are things? How are things going? And welcome back.
Well, it's good. I return to places that I guess I want to return, or more importantly, that want me to return. So I appreciate the invite back. I mean, given the production value that we just witnessed in the open of the show, why wouldn't anybody want to come back and be associated with something like this? But yeah, so it's been a year, and a year, a lot can happen both on and off the field. A lot has happened both on and off the field, and we find ourselves as we are. Doing this here, what are we, Monday, July 21st in the year 2025, less than a year away from, the big show that's coming and all of the angst and, worry, but also, I think, also a good amount of excitement as to what's to come, but still lots to kind of figure out in this summer. I don't know if it answered any questions or brought more questions, but either way, it gives us a lot of content and a lot of stuff to talk about. So I appreciate you having me back.
You know what's funny is that after our last show, Derek asked me, he goes, hey, how long has it been since Lalas was on our show? And I go, I think it was like 6 or 7 months. He goes, no, I think it was a year. I go, I don't think it was a year, dude. Went back and looked. Yeah, it was a year. A little over a year.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not here to harass you. So, we usually have people on the show.
It really felt like it was just like a handful of months ago. It felt like, I don't know.
Well, for most people out there, including my wife, she would probably argue that once a year is about enough of me that anybody should take. So
let's hope that's not a better situation than that. All right. Well, Brett's gonna just pop some stuff up, and we're gonna start talking about it. Cool. So that's how the show works generally. Yeah. Usually fluff ass. We got some fluff. Okay. Here we go.
Lalas, you might have some insight into this, but have you heard that Tom Bogert and Balboa might be related?
Oh my goodness, look at that. That is some sweet facial hair right there.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean,
it's a possibility that they might be related.
Yeah, and Cello, I love him like a brother, and he has been committed to the cause when it comes to both the hair and the facial hair over the years. Obviously, I'm
jealous personally.
But I mean, it's incredible. Every time I see him, I just say, God, you're a good-looking man, and he's grown it there. Yeah, I mean, but you guys obviously have seen, and maybe it's just me, but of late, and let's say in the last year or last couple of years, and I don't think it's like a ironic or jaded type of thing, but the return, if you will, of the mustache out there. And it always looks weird because like a lot of the young kids are kind of doing it, and you can tell when a young person is going. But both Tom and Marcelo there, I think they are well and ingrained in the mustache culture out there, and they both wear it well.
Yeah, I mean, but the little character, the Lego character, definitely looks a lot more like Tom.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Well, it's drooping down, whereas Marcelo's is straight across, nicely kept.
Yeah, he's straight edge Marcelo over there, and then Tom's much more like 70s-esque vibe going on.
Yeah. Well, you heard our song with Tom. We quote Tom a lot on this show, so we have Tom, don't bogart that joint, my friend.
I just had there was a as often happens when you get any sort of online regularity or acknowledgement out there, people will come for you, and as you evidently, there's a clone of him out there that you got to be careful at.
Oh yeah,
putting out different stuff there. So you always got to check twice, and hold your fire a little bit, and make sure that you check every single character of said.
Did that get
Twitter
you?
account? No, I didn't.
Okay.
Because I am a wise old veteran here, and I stop. I take a breath before. You should. I think I've told you this before, but if you want to see the world burn, I think one thing that you could do, if you had the capability, maybe like an Elon Musk or something like that, to press a button and everybody's draft folder of posts just automatically went out. Because I always take a little breath sometimes and put it in and think about it, sometimes even overnight before sending it out. Because I think that in my older age and my maturity, maybe that's the best way to go.
I know, I agree. Abe Lincoln did that, so that's you're following the right path.
Oh, he was a let's be honest. He was a trolling shit tweeter. Let's be honest. Come on, everybody knows that about Abe.
Abe, yes, but had the sense to wait overnight before writing a nasty letter to said general who won the Battle of Gettysburg, by the way, but didn't pursue as fast as he liked. So we wrote him a nasty letter, and then he went to bed, woke up, and said, "Okay, I'm not going to do that. Not sending that letter." All right, Brett, what else you got?
We got a super chat
Already? Oh yeah. I hope this is appropriate. Alexi, what's your opinion of Woody Allen's marriage? Does it align with traditional conservative values? Oh my God, I know we're going to get these all night.
Well, Pluto 69 over there, $5 well spent, my friend. Yeah, I unlike Pluto 69, I rarely, if ever, think about Woody Allen in any capacity. But if Woody's on your mind, and fill your boots, my friend. So yeah, I haven't thought about Woody Allen in a while, let alone his current or previous marriage situation.
It's probably pretty untraditional. Obviously, he adopted her and then married her later, so that's not something we here would say would be a good thing. But
yes,
we've got a long history of saying dating your stepsister's fine. So. But that crosses the line for me. You adopt somebody, you're not supposed to marry 100%. Them later. Yeah.
That's creepy weird. Yeah.
You're probably not going to get a lot of pushback on that from me or anybody else.
No.
Or anybody else. Yeah, except for maybe Woody Allen. Yeah. Let's move on to a more happier note here. Some people we know tied the knot.
Oh yeah, the Reina.
Got married.
Well, Mrs. Reina now and Mr. Reina. Congratulations to them. I guess I came out a day and a half ago. A couple days ago.
That's Joe. Gio Reina got married. I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
Well, congratulations. I mean,
that's what this picture was.
Yeah, super cutie, and I guess hopefully they'll be moving to Parma soon. I mean,
hopefully, fingers crossed.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that nobody has been given more, I guess, leash. And I think fairly so, given his talent. Yeah. But it's time to put up or shut up. And I think he well, I don't know, but I'm assuming he understands this. And this is another kind of lifeline for him. And obviously, it didn't end and has not been going well for him at Dortmund. And almost every window, I mean, I'm sure you guys talked about it. It's like, oh, this is the window where he's going. This is the window where he's going. Well,
we've kind of played the line that. Dortmund's going to hold on to him to try to boost up his value because he went from a market value of about 40-45 million down to about, I think it's like 8 million now. So people are like, oh, he needs to get out of Dortmund. I'm like, well, Dortmund's going to sit on him and try to
but what are they sitting on him for? Like, where is that value coming from? He's not playing club and he's not playing with the national team. So is his value, strutting down the street? I don't.
All right, hold on. I guess we're kind of talking about him. Let's go and pull this up here real quick.
All right. Well, can I preface this by, if you go digging inside the Dortmund board notes, about a year and a half ago, when Raina was still injured. Their plan was, hey, we've got him for a little bit long. Let's play him next season. We'll hire a really young coach who'd be able to relate to all of our young guys who the other guy wouldn't play last season and all their values dropped. So we'll hire a young guy. He'll come in. He'll play the young guys. All their values will go up, and then we can sell them. That was the plan. It did not work because the young coach manager was gone much too quickly. And when Raina did get back, it was the newer coach that they hired to come in. So that was the plan they had, but instead they're just going to lose a lot of money, and that's where we're at right now.
It's interesting you say that because cutting your losses in business is a traditional type of business practice. Obviously, you don't want to do it a lot, but every once in a while, you do have to cut your losses. I was actually talking with David Mossy on my State of the Union podcast about that time of thing and how much influence. I think the question was, how much influence do the people behind the scenes, give it a name, right? I don't know, a technical director, sporting director, GM, president, whatever it ends up being, have in terms of what is going on the field. And the way that you kind of just laid it out, it would be interesting, whoever that young coach had that, or manager had been brought in with the marching orders of this is what we're going to do relative to the business. And we all know that coaches are fired all the time, and they're fired for what happens ultimately on the field. And, so I mean, whether it's Dortmund or anybody else, I'm not saying I wasn't aware that this happened, but when you lay it out like that, it is a little, it's not dirty. It's just, if I was led to believe that it was all about competition and winning out there, but maybe I'm just a naive rube.
Well, the thing is, and this is part of the notes as well, the board notes, is like, hey, we're a selling team. We bring in young players, we quadruple their worth, and then we sell them. And what we just did last season with Terzic killed all of our young. It was like 4 players. Market value was reduced by, I think the total market value amongst all of them was $40 million lost. And they're thinking, well, this is insane. We got to change the coach.
You got to remember, because after the World Cup, Gio finished at last second of the season with like 7 goals, a smattering of assists, and almost helped Dortmund win Bundesliga. So I'm assuming the board's probably thinking, well, Terzic's got this under wraps. He's gonna, start playing Gio more, or not just Gio, but other young players as well. Under Terzic, though, he brought in a bunch of older players. That the average age from when he took over to prior to him, like jumped up like 4 years. It was insane.
Yeah.
For a team like Dortmund. And all of a sudden now they're no longer necessarily looking at this as a selling team. Now we have a bunch of age players, and they're trying to go toe to toe with the Giants. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, ultimately, from a U.S. perspective and a U.S. men's national team perspective, for example, what are the questions that I would ask now? All right, this is great. He's found a place to go that obviously wants him, and it's in a good league. But we've seen this before, and I think the jury at this point is still out as to whether he can fulfill the potential that we've been talking about. So, for example, we got a window coming up here in September. Is Gio Reyna called into that next window? Let alone does Gio Reyna show up on the 26-man roster next summer? I think there's a lot of people, and I know you're shaking your head there, that at least, and I don't want to speak to you. At least. So September, you don't think he's getting called into September?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
No,
is it because you think it's because of a message that Poch wants to give to him and others, or is it more like, I need you to just be playing and get as acclimated as possible, and I still have you on my radar, but I want you to be playing and don't read it too much into this right now?
It's a mixture of things. We haven't heard a lot of good words come out of Poch's mouth about Reyna. The most definitive statement we heard is that his playing style, his the way he moves isn't really applicable to the way we want to play, which, is a really general thing to say. And of course it's half translation because he's sometimes really hard to understand. But it's also because what's he done lately? Not much. And I don't think anything he does between now and September is going to change a darn thing. So, and now he loves Tillman. So if you love Tillman, and then you can maybe consider Luna a backup to Tillman, then you don't really need Gio Reyna right now.
Well, I think ultimately what you're looking at is like you said, Derek, what has he done recently? Hasn't been much. He is on the cusp of moving over to Parma.
Maybe.
So at that point, the cusp. I'm saying he's possible.
Yeah, 10 million.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to pull up here. But yeah, he's on the cusp of moving over to Parma, and if he can get out there, and if they're gonna fork over the money for him, and this is the borderline relegation bound Serie A side. I feel like he's going to get the opportunity to play now if he goes out there and starts performing. Maybe the October, maybe the November window that we're looking at, or whatever, as a possibility. Hell, even maybe even early in 2026 here, but definitely not September.
It's so funny watching him and watching the reaction that we all have to him, because obviously I'm an old guy and I played with his father and I watched his father, and Claudio Reyna, his father, was, and for those that can remember watching him, there was an economy of motion that at times it almost made you in the moment frustrated because it looked like he wasn't working. And, I mean, look, genetics are genetics. And oftentimes one of the, the complaints about Gio is that he doesn't look like he's doing enough, or you think that he can do enough. Now, some of that may be true. Some of it, like I said, just maybe this is the style and the way that he plays. When you would see Claudio Reyna, he would be going fast, and he didn't look like he was going fast because nothing was ever labored, but it looked like, and this is the bad word to use, but it's almost the appropriate word to use. It looked lazy. Mm-hmm. so maybe from Poch's perspective, when he sees that, he says, well, I can't use that. And who knows? Maybe he gets in. I'm talking about Gio now. Maybe he gets back in and he says, oh, and maybe a switch turns both in Gio and maybe in Poch. And he says, oh, I get it. This is the type of player that he is. Now, you have to be very specific with him ultimately with where he is playing, and have him come in and still have him adjust. You can't just come in and actually be lazy. But it's one thing to look like you're lazy, and it's another thing to actually be lazy. And I think sometimes Gio kind of drifts between those two in the way that we see him.
Yeah, I mean, we often use the word languid, but you could use that with Tillman as well. Mm-hmm. I think, it looks like, well, he runs with
not
such
the Tillman of Gold Cup, but yes.
Right. But, he's very smooth and it looks all very easy. Although, who was it that came out with all the criticism scuffed and saying this guy doesn't sprint, and when he does sprint, he's not very fast. And there were all the stats and all this stuff. He pulled up
an article. The article broke it down, but he was kind of making the point that Gio's like the 8th slowest field player in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. Having sat and watched him play over the years and stuff like that, Gio was never much of a sprinter in the sense like the sprinting up and down, which is why I never thought he would pan out on the wings for us when he went over there. But what he does is he moves. He knows where the pockets are. He goes to the pockets. He runs. I'm going to use the term trots because that's what it looks like. He trots into the pockets, offer as an option every single time, and you don't have to sprint around the pitch to find those pockets all the time.
Right. And I don't know.
There are times where he needs to sprint. Maybe he doesn't, and maybe that's the problem. But
I don't know how much Bundesliga you've watched lately, Alexi, but I watched every single game, which wasn't a whole lot that he played last season, and I thought, yeah, well, he didn't really do much. I would actually say the reason is because they went down the wings almost every single game, and he was just kind of standing around in the middle of the pitch waiting as an option to go backwards. And I don't know what that says about him, except it really looked like something the manager had told him to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I can blame him for not being a sprinter when simply not been asked to sprint. So there you go.
But so, I mean, ultimately now he's going to have to get back into the good graces and onto the radar of Pochettino through going to Parma, if this comes to be, right? And as you said, this isn't a team that's going to have necessarily a whole lot of the ball and always be on the front foot. And so that's not something that you necessarily associate with Dortmund, let alone with Gio Reyna. And so that worries me. Like Gio Reyna bending and not breaking as a team that's absorbing pressure and fighting, that's never been kind of his thing. And is he good enough individually to take a team like that on his shoulders and run the show and do something that we haven't seen? I just don't see that coming. But
Yeah,
who knows?
I'm hoping the coach gives him the keys and says, "Hey, I need you to be the creative force here. Open the pocket stuff." Because what we saw last season when he did actually play with Dorbin, the handful of games and minutes that he played, he was fine. He wasn't great. He didn't do all the progressive. He didn't play a lot of progressive forward passes or anything like that. But he maintained possession. He moved around. He kept things going. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's playing horrible. He's playing horrible." I'm like, "Well, no, he's playing fine. It's just we expect him to play those, those line breaking passes to open up the attack and get chances on goals, but he's not doing that. Hopefully, if he does go to Parma, hopefully the coach says, "Hey, I'm giving you the free run here. You orchestrate the attack."
You think it would have been better for him as a player where he is and where he's hoping to go, whether it's with the national team or just kind of resurrecting his career and heading at the right direction, had he gone to, there were rumors about LAFC, or I guess anywhere in Major League Soccer, but had he gone to LAFC in this compare and contrast with where he's going now?
I mean, at least it would have been a club, I suppose, and one of the bigger ones. Right? It's one of the bigger ones in MLS. So if that's where it ended up, I think that would have maybe left him off the 2020-16 team. Maybe, I don't know. But if he goes to Parma and he does something at least remotely impressive, like
play, I mean, literally, if he's playing every single game, starting every single game. Yeah. Is that enough? I mean, again, this goes back to that leash that we give him. Because anybody else, it would have been, that's it. We've done, it didn't work out, and we've kind of moved on.
Yeah, we want to see old Reyna back.
It also helps that when Reyna does come onto the national team and he does play, he generally performs.
He has been good, yeah.
Yep. So we kind of give him that leash because there's still this room that we are expecting this. Now, mind you, when Greg played him back as more of a holding one of the double pivots, and he's playing deeper in that role, it's a little bit different. But I think every time he was played in a more advanced role, we were scoring goals. He was getting assists. So I mean, that's why I think we kind of give it. A lot of people give him a bigger leash than say,
and some give him none at all. And some are like, we're done with him. So I think that's either way is premature. We got to wait and see.
I think both parties are in the same boat in the sense that he just needs to play right now. He needs to find some playing time. Period.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, that's probably enough Reyna for now.
Yeah.
That's 20 minutes of Reyna. Jesus.
So jumping back to Fluff a little bit here because this one is too good to pass. Alexi, did you see the video of Weah and Weston talking about Italian food?
Oh, this was what they put on pasta or what? I can't remember what it was, but there's a couple foods videos that have come out. Weston was there at one point, so I don't know. I guess I haven't.
These two are horrible with food, Lexi. They said turkey is dry and gross.
Turkey's dry and gross. Yeah.
This is a video from 2 years ago, and we're like, turkey's delicious. You just got to know how to cook it. And then they did what you're about to play, which I'm imagining.
No, I'm not gonna play the video. This is leading into food talk here.
They said Italian food's not really that good. It's it's not diverse enough. Is what they say. It's the same everywhere.
Weston talks about, hey, you guys do a couple things really good, but if I were to go to a burger joint here in the United States and have a burger, and if I didn't like that burger, I could walk 10 minutes over to another burger joint and get a different burger. Whereas here, it's like, if you're in this city, apparently you have this type of pasta, this type of fish, this type of whatever, It's
of course, it's regional. It's regional in Italy, but if you go to different parts of Italy, it's very different. The food changes.
Yeah. Okay. So I have so many thoughts on food in general, and some of this is actually going to, I don't know if defend is the right word, but maybe it will defend some things that they are saying. For example, I often make the case, it's nothing new, believe me. You're not getting anything deep from me now or ever. But, people will go to Italy and they will sit down and, wherever. They could go to Rome or Venice or wherever. And they will have a plate of pasta. To your point, oftentimes it's regional, so it's a specialty of the region.
Yeah.
And they will say, this is the best plate of pasta I've ever had. And I will argue that if they were having the exact same plate of pasta in Kalamazoo, or pick your place, they would have a completely different reaction because it is the surroundings that are infecting your brain. in a good way, because ultimately, if you enjoyed it for whatever reason, you enjoyed it, fine. But it's only as good as you think it is because of where you are eating it. Same goes for, when people go and say, the Guinness in Ireland and stuff like that. And I know people say, well, it's the water and all that kind of stuff. No, that's why, like the blind taste tests are so important and oftentimes reveal how biased we are about that kind of stuff. Having said that, if you go to Italy and you can't find a way to find good food and to eat well, then you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
Okay? What I will say is, having been there and played there many, many years ago, what I found was the simpler, the better. And the simple plates that they had, they did really, really well. And I'm not saying that they couldn't, gussy stuff up, but, literally a plate of even, plain penne with butter and spinach and some mozzarella or whatever. It was just very simple. And in its simplicity, I think that's where the beauty is. And I think that's where the taste was. Again, I still raise my hand that I was doing it in Italy. And so I was impacted and affected by that. But, these are young kids. And if we're going to argue burgers, okay, of course, America's going to come out on top. It's kind of what we do.
Yes.
Yeah. So two parts to what you were saying there. So Way in that video does actually specify that he likes the taste of American Italian food better than Italian food.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, and now Way is off the team, most likely, and Weston's on the
Marseille.
chopping block. So, I mean, what are the odds there, first off?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Weston's always on the chopping block, but I'm not sure how that works.
I mean, look, when it comes to doing food, though, because of our incredible diversity and our history over here, we do it pretty well, whether it's Italian or anything else out there. I mean, let's be honest. So there is an element that absolutely, I think, people can put it up. And it goes back to these blind taste tests. You remember what happened with the wine and the white wine thing and all that kind of stuff that happened, and people didn't realize, oh my God, it's really, really good. But if it wasn't from France or if it wasn't from Italy, it can't be good. So I think you can find good food anywhere. But again, where you are, who you're with, the moment, all of that plays into how your senses take in what you're eating.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll get into diversity here in a bit. But last part I want to make about the food, comment with this and everything. You mentioned the blind taste testing here or there type of thing. And I may be a victim of this because I will say, like, Giordano's pizza from Chicago tastes different than Giordano's pizza here in Indianapolis.
You think so? Or you just believe that when you're doing it? What you guys
I believe it does, but I could just be a victim of that. Maybe if you did do a blind taste and I tried both, I'm like, oh, they taste the same, or maybe whatever,
I'm not saying that the water or whatever can't affect, oftentimes people talk about New York bagels and, the water that they use. And that's why that's why it is. And again, until you actually do the blind taste test, you don't ultimately know. But also, who am I to, poop on anybody's belief that this is good? If it gets you off and you enjoy it, then go for it. And if you think it's better, or if you think it's because of the water or the way that it's prepared or whatever, that's fine. I enjoy eating food. I don't know if you guys enjoy eating food.
Oh yeah, obviously we do.
All right.
We're two very large mammals. All right, let's be fair. We're large men. All right.
The reason I'm bringing this whole topic up, Derek, do you have anything to go off of before I?
No, I'm ready to. Okay. Yeah, hit it.
All right. So the whole reason I bring this up is, again, for fun. Henri Chase Propagandist here says English food is underrated. Not going to lie.
Oh, hold on.
Thoughts on that first and foremost?
I will say, in the way that I talked about America having a lot of good cuisine, and given our history and our makeup, that we do it well. You can get good food in England.
You can.
I don't think even close to the level and the amount of good food that you can get in the U.S. And let's be honest, okay? When that whole migration happened to the EPL, and to their credit, they made the most popular league in the world. It wasn't because of the weather or the food. All right. People went there because of the money. Now you can get good food over there, but English food is underrated. No, it's not underrated. It is rated exactly as it should be, in that it's I can take it or leave it.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
U.S. men's national team Rev says lived there for 4 years and only so many meat pies, sausages, rolls, and fish and chips before you fall over and die.
Yeah.
But he does go on to say, I joke, but being up in Scotland, I had access to some top tier Indian food as well. So it wasn't all bad. And I
You
said,
could get good Indian food anywhere now.
I said, poster one says English food is underrated. U.S. men's national team Rev says, yeah, I had some really good Indian food there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure. Absolutely.
I almost got arrested eating India food years and years ago in London. I was out with a buddy of mine, and along with the Indian food came, a lot of drinking and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And at one point, we left the restaurant, and he was a moron. He decided at one point he had a beer in his hand, and he tried to hit it into a trash can or something, and completely missed. His aim was very off and went right into a group of standing policemen right there. And luckily they let us go there. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So Indian food, again, I can take it or leave it. People are constantly trying to impress upon me how good Indian food is, and I have yet to be really convinced. And I know there's people that are listening right now and they'll say, oh, I could take you to a place. I get it. I've tried it over the years and it just hasn't taken yet.
Yeah. I'm picky. I got like 2 or 3 dishes I like.
But you didn't say that you were blown away by Indian food because that's something completely different.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Gross. Absolutely gross. Right. All right. What else?
It is where it went, it is.
Yeah.
I guess moving on to more personal topics here, Alexi. We know online you have a tendency of trolling from time to time, especially on the Twitter.
Poking the bear.
It's like, yeah.
He pokes the bear.
Before we get to the out-and-out trolling in that sense, I wanted to pull up a.
I don't think he would use the word trolling, Brett. I think
a lot of people will, but it is what it is, and I mean, social media are great. First of all,
I don't get to tell you or anybody else how to define it. It's up to you. So I completely respect it, whether I agree with it or not. So.
Yeah. So, you're just trying to get the conversation flowing.
It's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Back in June 15, I guess a month ago, there was a Goals TV posted an interview, I guess, that you had, where you talked about diversity.
Yes.
Diversity and being a strength or a weakness in the United States and stuff like that. And I don't know when you're giving the quotes and stuff like that, if you use the certain terms like diversity, homogenous, what were the other ones?
Melting pot, all that kind of stuff.
Some of the buzzwords in there. Did you know when quoting these or saying these quotes and stuff like that people were going to look at those buzzwords and ignore the context of what you were trying to say?
Yeah, I knew exactly. Well, first off, I've been saying it forever. Okay, so it's nothing new. I will, whether it's here or anybody anywhere else, I can certainly defend it. It's not a strange concept in terms of what I'm talking about, and whether it's you or anybody else out there, I think you could understand if you took the time to figure it out. So yeah, it was. Where were we? Anyway, wherever I was just repeating some of the stuff that I have talked about and some of the challenges that I think anybody, whether you're involved in soccer or not, by the way, or if you've been involved in soccer for any length of time, will very quickly come to realize when it comes to getting 11 players on the field that can function as a unit. And when it comes to a national team in particular, where you have such limited time, 2 days here, 1 day here, all that kind of stuff, in a country the size of ours with the diversity that we have, which, by the way, I think makes us a great country in many instances. In order to get 11 people together, and how hard that is. And I've been around a lot longer than you guys, and the question is evergreen. Why haven't we won a World Cup when it comes to a men's team? Why can't we be better than we are? And there's a bunch of different answers. I know you guys talk about them, each and every time that you're broadcasting, and we're not going to get into every single one of those. When it comes specifically to creating this national team, I was talking about how it's important that when those 11 players step on the field, that they are all thinking about the game in the same way, that they are all heading in the right direction, whether it's Pochettino, whoever else is the coach is there. That is literally their job, to find those 11 people that are able to think in the same way. And if I put 11 players on the field that think about the game in a completely different way than each other, that's going to be a problem. Can it work? Maybe, but you're going to need a whole lot of time in order to get everybody. I mean, we talk about being on the same page. What the hell do you think being on the same page means? It means this is how we're going to play. And not only do I accept it, but I recognize that this is how I am going to be on the field. And if you don't, it doesn't mean you're not a good player, but you don't fit into what's going on. And if you're on the field and doing something completely different and on that proverbial other page, that is going to be a problem on a field of play when it comes to a soccer team.
So, yeah, I mean, a good example of this was Iceland back in the Euros. I mean, that team came together very quickly because, well, let's be honest, there was no diversity. They were all pretty much living within like 30 miles of each other on that island. And most of them had been living in Reykjavik at one point or another, playing on club teams before they went to Europe, and then they came back, blah, 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 blah. Point is, much easier to do with people who grew up in the same culture, all know each other, and all thinking, you know, this is what Icelandic soccer is all about. And I think the only pushback some people gave was like, okay, hey, France. Look at France. They're really diverse. They're great. Why can't we do that? But I don't think that there's that much diversity of as far as soccer thinking in France, right? I that's the only, I guess, argument.
So first off, it's an apples and oranges in terms of just pure size, right? When you're talking about covering a country the size of ours relative to France. Number two, and I think this is important, and this has not changed, soccer's not king. It has not been king. And for the foreseeable future in our lifetime, it's not going to be king. And so when a sport is king, there is a historic understanding and acknowledgement, and as I said before, a collective, not just acceptance, but also an appreciation for this is who we are. This is how we play. And it's representative of everything we are. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't change. It doesn't mean that you can't adapt. It doesn't mean that you can't grow over the years and be something that you weren't in the past. But, you know, when some people start throwing out France or anybody else, you know, a lot of these players are identified at a very young age. And a lot of these players, regardless of where they have come from, they are into a quote unquote system that has been established. The same thing that goes with Germany. I mean, look, if you look at German immigration patterns, if you look at France immigration patterns, so it's not about people coming into your country, but they are coming into an already established system where soccer is king. That is very, very different than coming into the United States, where not only soccer isn't king, but we have all of these different patterns. And my point was, when it came to, you know, the regions, and I've often said, hey, maybe the best national team would be picked just from Southern California, because everybody kind of grew up playing together and doing the same things. It doesn't mean that within that region there aren't different players and players play differently and people think about the game differently, but it's very, very different when, let's say, you're growing up in California as opposed to when you're growing up in New Jersey, or where I grew up in Michigan, all of these different places. And it could be influenced by any number of things, not the least of which is my dad's Greek. So your heritage and how you think about the game. It can be influenced by geography. I grew up in a very cold area of the country. That influences actually how you play the game. It could be influenced by, you know, what your coaches are and where they come from and what they are bringing into the situation. All of these different things. And then you're growing up in a place that you might get to play either against or with somebody from a completely different part of the country. And they might think about the game in a completely different way. And you have to meld all of that onto a field. So that was the point that I have been trying to make all over through the years and will continue to make, because it's just the reality of the situation. Does it mean that we don't try to make it work? No, absolutely not. But these are the realities and these are the challenges.
Yeah. I don't think we have any choice but to make it work. Yeah. But I think, you know, you just mentioned the coaches. Kind of funny, through my youth, and by the way, we're about the exact same age, Lexi. Through my youth, there were the Scottish guys that came over, they
Mhm.
coached. There were the English guys that came over and coached in the 90s, 2000s, the youth coaches. I remember the big ones. Then there was a small contingency of Dutch and a little bit of German over here and over there. There was some guy, from a different country altogether, all with different total philosophies on how to play the game. And that's how we've evolved. That's what we have evolved from here in this country. A lot of different philosophies about the way the game should be played. So, yeah, we're going to have some confusion.
Well,
let me ask you something, though. I mean, just to drive my point home, when it comes to a club team, for example, why do club teams have youth setups, right? Two reasons, right? Number one, we talked earlier about the business aspect of creating an asset that costs relatively little relative to what the appreciation of that asset becomes, and then you sell them on. So there's an actual business aspect of it. But there's the other part, and will hear coaches all the time, especially now, even in MLS, which is really kind of still in its infancy relative to the rest of the world, talking about, this player came out of our academy. This player came out of our quote-unquote system. And why do they appreciate that? Because they recognize that from a very early age, that person has been around a way of thinking about the game that they believe in, that they have established, and that person is going to take less time to be able to impart, this is how we play, and this is what's going on. It's literally grown from within in order to maximize because of the connection that they have, the history that they have, the upbringing that they have, and the similarity in terms of what they are doing.
So I'll say one thing in the sense that, to your point, I mean, back when we were all growing up, mind you, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, but still, even at my time growing up in the 80s and 90s here in Indiana, there was absolutely a difference as far as developmental concerns were here in Indy compared to other parts of the country. We're only talking about a couple decades back now. I do think that some things have changed, and I think especially with the internet, everybody being exposed to everything, there's in the quotes that you had mentioned here below, you actually talk about how it could actually become a strength in the end. It's just going to take time to develop it. And quite frankly, I think that's what we're seeing in the sense that, to an extent, that there's kind of a merging of the different styles because everybody's being exposed to a bunch of different stuff. Whereas, like when I was growing up in Indy, every single club around Indianapolis had an English guy running it.
Sure.
Every single one.
We've all been there. Yeah, we all been there. And
so we all played that it was very rigid, very direct, very team oriented style.
Sure,
and
sure.
Go anywhere else around the country, all of a sudden there's a little more flair, there's more creativity,
down south,
individual effort, team effort, build up, direct play, whatever.
And you looked up. We looked up to him. I mean, even in the 70s and 80s, when we were going around, the influx, especially the English influence, and where I was up in the north, in particular, was undeniable. I mean, hell, my dad's Greek, right? And he was a professor. He was an academic. But they found out that he was Greek and said, "Oh, he's got a coach." Because why? Well, because he's from a country where they play soccer. My dad didn't know a damn thing when it came to soccer. But there he was out there. The other thing is, when the 1980 Olympic hockey team won, nobody was screaming and yelling or complaining about the fact that most of the players were from, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Massachusetts, and all had this connection and this understanding, whether it was where they grew up, whether it was the colleges that they played for. They came together, by the way, in a very short period of time with Herb Brooks, the coach, and he recognized, I need everybody on the same page. I can't afford to waste time. I need to put people together that are the best hockey players in that they are going to get along. They're going to do what I tell them, and they're going to have an intrinsic type of knowledge that comes from where they come from, either growing up or from a college perspective.
Yeah. Chris Gary makes a good point here. Alexi's quote was only controversial because of who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that is, it's not only that, it's also what the term diversity has come to mean to people.
That's true.
It's so fucking one-dimensional at this point. Like, people don't understand what that word really means within a contextual within a paragraph, because they see it and that's the only thing they think of. So we wanted to give you a chance to reply.
Well, that's why I was talking about like the buzzwords and everything. when people see diversity, and you say that's not necessarily a strength because, over the course of the last handful
It's a
plus years,
challenge.
it's been talked about how our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is our strength. And then you come in with a quote saying, well, maybe it's not our strength, but here's the reason why. And their brains shut off at that point.
Yeah.
I will
like,
say this, when
racist,
it comes
you don't
to
like
winning, and it goes back to what I just said, I don't think the Americans, not just the American soccer public, the American public in general, gives a crap about how this team plays. And if we ended up winning a World Cup, a men's World Cup, and all the players were from Southern California or from New Jersey or someplace else, yeah, people would talk about it because in this day and age, we have the technology where everybody has a microphone, everybody has a platform, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But ultimately, it would be about winning. They wouldn't care where they came from.
Yeah, no. I think we could win playing really ugly, and we'd be
Same thing.
love.
Yes,
We'd
exactly.
be in love with it.
Yep. We could do a Greece Euros type of thing, and we would be like, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever!" The heart and the grit and this and that, and the beauty would be in its ugliness.
Yep, and we bring that up all the time here about the Greek victory in the Euros, because just to get for people to understand, there are multiple ways to play, and sometimes you play within yourself, and it works.
And it's subjective, right? If I ask 100 people, and that was my other point, if I ask 100 people in the United States that are into soccer what the beautiful game is, I'm gonna get 100 different answers, and that's okay, but that's the reality. As opposed to maybe some other countries and cultures, if I ask 100 people, I'm gonna get much more of an understanding and a collective agreement about this is what beautiful soccer is.
Yeah, I agree. All right, for the 250 of you here now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. Lean over, give your stepsister a kiss on the cheek. What else you got, Brett?
Still kind of sticking into the same category.
We're going to hammer this to death, aren't we?
We're going to hammer it all the way in there, yeah.
Okay.
So you tend to get some very colorful responses to some of your what would be pretty basic posts, in the sense of saying like, "Hey, we've got a soccer president, and he's holding Club World Cup trophies and whatnot," and you get responses like this.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. Well, there's some pith from what is it? Big JP. Well done.
I told him you don't know how hard that is to do.
That is true. You're absolutely right. And many of us over the years have tried. I mean, we're all young boys trying to figure it all out, and so everyone's tried over the years. But I appreciate at least the response there. Yeah. So when it comes to the president right now, I think that it's a good thing. Okay. And look, I'm not going to talk politics here, but regardless of your politics, I think that less than a year away from this World Cup and how important this World Cup is going to be, to have the president of the country invested and in and engaged when it comes to the World Cup, that's a good thing, because guess what? It is going to be a reflection on him. It is going to be a reflection on the game, and it's going to be a reflection ultimately on our country. And so I love the fact that every single time almost he gets up and gives kind of a general talk, he includes the fact that the World Cup is coming and the Olympics, but also the World Cup. I love the fact that he has this relationship now with Gianni Infantino. That bodes well for what is going to be a crucial summer that I think, regardless of your politics, I would think you want it to go well. And if you are out there and because of politics, you are actually rooting for it to not go well, then you got a problem. You got a big problem, okay? Again, there will be plenty of time for you to call Trump or anybody else out there, including myself, any name that you want. But ultimately, this is bigger and is, again, going to be a reflection on us to the rest of the world. That proverbial advertisement that is going to go out to the world. And I want it to be as positive as possible on and off the field. So I want people engaged. I want President Trump to be engaged because it's going to reflect on him. And we know he wants things to reflect on him positively.
So if you found that your following has gone up or down since you've come out politically, and by the way, I just want to say, I mean, you handle it really, really well. Like, there are guys that get really pissed off about I don't want to bring Taylor into this. We like Taylor, tight shirt Twoman, but I mean, he got really upset the other day because somebody disagreed with him on the MLS thing. But you never get upset. You seem to just be like, yeah, whatever, dude. We're moving on. So, I mean, is that just coming from the inside, or because you you knew it was coming, so you were prepared, or I mean, what's up?
I think all this comes with the territory. And I as far as the followership, I guess, and for the most part, we're talking about X right now. It's been interesting because it comes and goes, and there's almost like a regeneration of people, and maybe they are new people. It's interesting sometimes too when people say, I think you're crazy when it comes to your soccer takes, but I'm here for your political takes, or the opposite, or the opposite. But
Sure.
I've tried to balance it out as much as I possibly can, and this is something that I recognize is going to turn some people off, and plenty of people have, I guess it would be, unfollowed or gone someplace else, and that's okay. There's nothing I can do. I can't be everything to everybody. But I also recognize that by being honest and by being at times, in the political realm and talking about politics, there are going to be people that just say, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I want to see. And so while I maybe disagree with you, this is not what I want to be, and I'm going to go someplace else. And that's that. I totally understand that. And finally, to your point, I don't gain a whole lot from yelling and screaming or getting angry, because I look at it as that I brought this on myself, and I recognize that this is something that's going to happen when you start talking about these things, and I can give as good as I can get, but it's also it's not necessarily over there on social media, whether it's X or anybody else, a focus group, and you can get very, very diverted in terms of what reality is just by somebody saying something or somebody not saying something when it comes to the responses that you get, or just in general. I wake up every morning and, people telling me to go F myself is kind of a constant each and every day.
Your responses are this is the funny part. And all your responses are so, you eat pieces of shit for breakfast? That's what it all reminds me of. I'm sorry. Right. I mean, it's just so Happy Gilmore. I love it. All right, Brett. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
We covered it. It's good.
Yeah, as social media got bigger, Derek and I really came through the big soccer days when the early social medias for soccer, quite frankly. Yep. But as social media got bigger and bigger and bigger, there are definitely some conspiracy theories out there that really take into effect. I was curious if you had a favorite U.S. men's national team conspiracy theory that you might believe. Well, you have a lot of inside takes here, but you might believe is 100% accurate.
Well, how about the Landon Donovan thing not being personal? Come on, there's some element of personal in that between Klinsmann and Donovan.
So when my kids started growing up, they got to the point that all kids do, where they learn that by prefacing something by saying nothing personal, then they can kind of just say whatever they want. We know that's not true. Right. And obviously, until the robots rule the world, it is always going to be personal, and anything that involves a human being is by definition going to be personal, I think. So yes, of course it's personal. I think Jurgen Klinsmann or anybody else would. I don't think he would cover for himself in that he would recognize that a human being ultimately is making this, with all of our baggage and bias that comes with anything that we do. But I think he would probably justify it, either from an X's and O's type of perspective, or a data perspective, or a more nebulous type of the dynamic perspective. And it just didn't fit, and he was where he was, and it wasn't going to work. But yeah, of course it's going to be personal. As far as conspiracies, I think the one out there about the quota system when it comes to Major League Soccer players, I think that's going to always live on in this world, where there are people that no matter what you tell them are going to believe that MLS has constructed this situation that benefits them relative to the national team, and everybody kind of sleeping with everybody. And I will be the first to admit that there is crossover, and there has been for a long time when it comes to the United States Soccer Federation and MLS, and whether it's summer or anything else out there. But yeah, I just don't see that as happening, whether it's a Jurgen Klinsmann or a Bruce Arena or anybody else. Their job is to win. And it goes back to what we said earlier, in that nobody gives a crap how we win as long as we win.
Yeah, no, you're so right about Bruce. I can't imagine anybody telling Bruce what to do, number one. Number two on that, if there was an MLS quota, well, Poach screwed that up in the first original call-ups because there was like 2 MLS players on the whole roster.
Greg screwed it up and he got rehired, and now he's fired. So maybe there's some truth behind this.
Right. And
the theory of the quota did come from Klinsmann, first off, is what Burntos is saying. So,
that's true. That's true. But number 3, listen.
Well, no, that came through Klinsmann, and if I'm correct, I think people are referencing the Cruyff book.
Yep.
The book.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cruyff book.
So he's saying that Klinsmann told him this.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm sure there was some pressure, but Jesus, in the end, I think Klinsmann picked who he wanted. But on to the personal thing, I just want to finish that up with Donovan. Your son doesn't put out a tweet.
Not your son, Alexi.
Not your son. But Jurgen's son does not put out a tweet laughing at the fact that you didn't make the national team, Lena Donovan, unless at some point at the dinner table, at breakfast, or something else, there was not a conversation at the dinner table, whatever, where he relates to his son that he really just doesn't like this guy very much. He's a pain in the ass. And I suspect he might have been one of the leakers for the Brian Strauss article before the Costa Rica game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, you're. I mean, I think you've hit it on the head in that we got a peek behind the curtain, and I will say too that there's no son doing this right now, but Mauricio Pochettino right now, I don't know if you guys agree, but I thought through the summer he really kind of bit his tongue, and I got a feel that at some points he went and sat down in the way that Jurgen would sit down with his son, and kind of talked to whoever he is close to. I'm talking about Pochettino right now, and said, I can't believe that this is happening. I can't believe that these are the decisions that are being made, or this is what I have to deal with, or this player's doing that. Now, it's different than your son coming out, but I think it was a reflection, to your point, of, yeah, it was personal. And by the way, just because it's personal doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right. Or that it can't be fixed.
Or that can be fixed. Exactly.
Yeah.
Robots have a much harder time fixing a personal issue than human beings do, I think.
Are we calling Jurgen a robot?
No, I'm just saying when it all happens here, you know, everybody's worried right now. I mean, even in my own business, everyone, you know, all the talking heads that we are, you know, we worry about what it looks like and will we all be replaced? I mean, I can't even imagine being a young person coming into what we do. You know, at least I've kind of, for better or worse, people like it, people don't, but I've kind of established this is who I am. So maybe, who knows, maybe somebody could, you know, I don't license my whatever it is I am and have an AI type of version of it. But if you're new, you're disposable in that you haven't established a brand yet. So nobody needs you necessarily to make that amalgamation of whatever that person, that AI version is going to look like. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the obviously jumping back to the Poach and Klinsmann topics as far as kids are concerned, the big difference between Poach and Klinsmann is that Poach's son happens to be on the coaching staff. So I'm sure they talk about that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
His son just knows better not to say anything. No.
Right. He said, "I'm not tweeting that." By the way, that tweet you put up the of the person and the pith that I was referring to, very well could be my son. I don't know.
Really? You have that bad of a relationship with your son?
No, he's just got that great sense of humor that.
Oh, okay. He goes and tells you to fuck yourself. That's
exactly. He's the guy every day.
All right.
S27 paid for $1.99 says, Alexi, do you think Poach is going to cut Pulisic?
I don't think he's going to cut him. I do think that this September window we are going to see some interesting decisions. And again, I have no inside information. It's just feel, and again, it goes back to, I think that Pochettino was blindsided maybe, but just apoplectic about some of the things that he saw this summer. And maybe that was reflected in, I know you guys saw him crying in the video that they put out. Maybe that was a result of, all this crap that he was dealing with that he couldn't believe. And this group that kind of came together, which kind of endeared him to them, I guess, and maybe the opposite way. Maybe that just all kind of came out. But I do think that Pochettino, he kind of suffered some fools this summer but I don't think that's happening anymore. I think starting in September, it's going to be, look, this is my way or the highway, whether you're Pulisic or anybody else. And this isn't all a bash Pulisic type of thing, because let's be honest, he has brought it for the national team. And I don't think that he doesn't care about the national team, but it was just, he didn't read the room well. I don't think he or his agent read the room well.
Maybe he doesn't care about the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I get it, but I just think that it was weak from where I was sitting, and who knows? But now it's on him. By the way, now you've gotten your rest, so we should be able to see the best possible version and expect the best possible version of Christian Pulisic, because he got what he wanted this summer.
Yeah,
isn't it weird?
The whole quick interview with, and that was something that happened like overnight. Like, that was not planned, him to go on Jimmy Conrad and Davies and Miola's show. That was not a planned thing. That just happened really fast because he was sort of feeling the pinch, and it didn't come off very good. So, but at the same time, you had Poach going on, Lannon's show with Timmy, and just hammering Pulisic, because that's the only guy he could possibly been referring to, because the rest of the guys were left off. Some of them were injured, and the only guy he could have been hammering was Musa, because those were the only two who said no. So there's two guys that said no, and you just went on a show and for 20 minutes said, I coached all these great players, and they would never turn down a call up to the national team. Well, who's he talking about? There's only two guys. So, yeah, it became personal. Then Pulisic got to hop on. And all of that could have been fixed, by the way, if they would have just talked to one another and said, hey, let's not, do anything out in public. I agree. You take a break, and I'm not going to go on shows and say shit,
Yeah, I thought that Pochettino actually kind of, in a strange way, missed an opportunity to make a connection with Pulisic, and a unique one, had he said, look, I'm going to take the crap for you this summer, okay? Yeah. I'm going to say I'm not calling you in, and I want you to go rest. And you can say, look, I want to be there. I'd love to be there, but they're not calling me in. And and have it be on Pochettino. And I think that would have garnered him, some real points for Christian Pulisic. But again, that would have required some communication. And who knows, maybe Pochettino said, no, this is the stand that I'm going to make. And I'm going to use this summer to kind of reestablish my authority and say, now everybody that's coming in, because you mentioned some players that weren't there, that either were playing in Club World Cup or were injured. You also don't know, had they been available, if they would have been called in. I think many of them would, but you never know. At least now they when they come back in, they recognize that it's not a new sheriff, because I think most of them have met Pochettino, but I think there is a different type of feel after this summer for this national team come September. And whether you're a Weston McKennie that's been there forever, or a Christian Pulisic, or anybody else out there, if and when you get that call, you better bring it.
I think the guys that should be the most concerned are the guys like Scally and Zendejas and maybe Griffin Yao and Tessman and Aiden Morris and Bucio, who were all available and just weren't called up. That's kind of much more concerning. I think the other guys will, as you said, I think they'll be back in September. But as Brett and I have said on the show multiple times, I also expect all 11 of the guys who started that last game for the United States and Poach, I expect all of them to be there too. The Berhalters, you name them, they're all going to be there. Luna,
and the 11 will be on part of the 23 guaranteed.
Yeah,
pretty much 9 to 11. We said around that range.
He's not going to abandon that message. He's going to say, "Hey."
Well, he's certainly not going to bring anybody from the bench because he didn't play them during the Gold Cup.
Right. Well, yeah. Some of those guys.
But I do think that those guys that were there this summer, I mean, what a valuable experience it was for them, day in and day out, to be in front of Pochettino. And to your point, I think some of them will have grabbed it with both hands and used that. Because again, it goes back to what we talked about. A national team, for the most part, is a couple days here, and sometimes you fly in, and one training doesn't even matter because you're just jet lag and all that kind of stuff. Yep. But to be there for what it ended up being, if you add the friendlies, it ended up being like 8 games and 6 weeks all together. Man, to be in front of a year before the World Cup, to have it go successful in terms of getting to the final and expectations weren't even that they were going to get to the final, and to be a part of that group and to plant that seed in Pochettino's head and the staff. Wow, that was a gift that's I think a lot of them, to your point, took.
Yeah, and that's why he's crying, actually. He's crying because of the connections he's made with these players. Yeah. And these are guys that he kept playing over and over and starting over and over and over again. He obviously is invested in them, and I think that's why they're coming, and that's why he's crying.
We're all missing it. He's not really crying. It's all satirical, and you can tell because he's flicking us off right here.
Okay, Brett.
If you're taking me serious here, guys.
We need more tinfoil. Here we go.
Jesus. All right, you want to... Okay.
We don't need to do that topic right there. Oh, so I did want to pause here and get something set up here because we had a super chat that came through. But Alexi, I think you might be new to our Dual Nap Panic segment.
Oh, Dual Nap Panic. It's a good one.
Oh, here we go.
Dual Nap Panic. Dual Nap Panic. Cap them now. Cap them now.
Greatest transitions ever, I swear.
Wow. Again, the
we
production
got transfer news coming up. Yeah, it's just off the chart.
Well, yeah, because we just got so ridiculously cynical about everybody's like, you got to cap him. You got to cap him. We're going to cap this guy, cap that guy, cap this guy, cap that guy. I mean, you can't cap everybody, man. Jesus. All right, Burnt Toast for $5 says, what's Alexi's take on media members asking Poach what he thinks of the city they're training in versus the lack of contact with Brown, Chase, Banks, especially Brown. Yeah, so we were going to get to this anyhow. Why can't we get a single media member? And I know some of them, you know them too. And I've reached out to Brian Shutter. I've reached out to Goff and said, hey, how come nobody's asking this question? Well, those two said I haven't had a chance to ask them yet. And then the others I've known just haven't replied back because I don't know if they're embarrassed or they don't want to tell me. But to me, it seems like somebody should ask, hey, Poach or U.S. Soccer or Betty Crocker, hey, have you called this guy and just said, hey, how you doing? That's it. I'm not expecting you to recruit him. Just say, hey, how you doing? What are your goals? That's it.
And you anticipate the answer to be what?
I anticipate the answer to be no. Because Nathaniel Brown told us 5 months ago, he had never received a call from U.S. Soccer, anyone at U.S. Soccer. And I'm sure that may have changed by now. Maybe an assistant coach call. I don't know. But I do think, if you ask the question, the answer would be, well, we've reached out and, we've talked. And right now, we don't have anything to report to you. But yes, of course, we've talked to Nathaniel Brown.
Yeah, so there's a part of me that says you better be doing your due diligence, and keep in mind that this due diligence has been now for the last couple of decades. You look back to Thomas Rongen's Excel sheet and all that happened in terms of identifying dual nationals. And look, I played with dual nationals, so it's not as if it's new, but a strategic play that happened where the United States Soccer Federation said, look, we have these players that are out there, and we want to make sure that we are spreading that net as wide as possible. And when you are a dual national or a multi-national, sometimes players have 3 options or 4 options out there.
Yeah.
There is an element of wooing them. And that's where, and so keeping that up, I think, is prudent and good business practice. Mm-hmm. And it continues on from what has happened in the past. Then there's the other side of it in me that says, yeah, you got to recruit and you have to woo, but there's also a part of me that says I want you to want to play for us, and meeting me halfway, that's okay. I get that that's how it works right now, but I want you to recognize that you're not doing us a favor. We're doing you a favor. And that's, I'm not saying that Pochettino and company, that's the way that they are approaching this right now. But there is a part of me that wants to make sure that it's not just we are having players that are dual or multinationals picking the U.S. because that's just the best thing for their career. And I'm not dumb. I'm not naive. I recognize it. But if you are, it will manifest in your play. if you are not doing it for the right reasons. I truly believe that. If you are just a mercenary when all is said and done, then I think that's a problem. And I think it will, like I said, not only manifest, but usually it'll manifest at the worst possible time.
Well, we've had a lot of people on this show over the last, we took a 7-year break, but going back to the big soccer days and, off air, they'd say, yeah, Timmy Chandler, he didn't really care that much. I don't know if he didn't care or he just didn't understand the culture or whatever, but he didn't get it. And that they've all been pretty universal on that. In this case, I do think when we have had a lot of American or U.S. fans pursue Nathaniel Brown and say, hey, we support you. And then we've seen evidence of Nathaniel Brown also like all the Bundesliga posts where they're like, here are all the Americans in the Bundesliga.
Removing Germany from his social media.
Yeah. So I think there are hints there that he would be interested. But, I mean, obviously, he's not going to, when they interviewed him, he's like, well, everything's open right now. But right now, I'm focused on, playing for my club team. And then, right now, the only people calling me up is the U21 German team. So that's where I'm focused on right now. That's all I can tell you. When U.S. Soccer approached you, no, nobody's called me from U.S. Soccer. I think that's a little disturbing, honestly.
Well, I think probably a little closer to home, we could players we could talk about. In the sense of Cole Campbell's made the one-time switch over to U.S. from Iceland. He's decided to play the U.S. He's played a couple games for Dortmund. He's got his opportunity to make his move over to, I think, Frankfurt, I think, is the team that's interested in him. Although BVB Newsblog said that Dortmund would accept a bid as long as they pay $7 million for him. We'll see what happens there. But, you have a player like that. Maybe he can get a sniff. Or how about Rokas Bukstas?
Okay, but
who had the opportunity to play for Lithuania and said, no, I want to make the 2026 World Cup with the U.S. men's national team.
Those players, fine, but this is a really, really good player.
I agree.
He's listed as a left back. He can play left wing, left midfielder. That's places we can use some depth.
My point, Derek, is maybe we see baby steps.
If I was him and I wanted to play for the U.S., I'd get on the phone. I'd say, hey, I want to be with you. Can you imagine if it was outgoing from the actual player? And look, we don't know Pochettino, but I would think, given what we have seen, certainly over the last summer, if somebody actually reached out to him and said, yeah, I don't want to play for anybody else, I want to play for you, I think that would be good. But the alternative, and I don't know what you're suggesting here, is that either they don't know about the players, and that would be. Okay, but if they do, then they don't feel that it is necessary or prudent at this time to reach out and establish any contact. And
that's weird,
or they might, and it might be for a number of different reasons, not the least of which is they might assess him completely different, say, no, it's just not any better than anything that we have.
Well, that's absolutely insane if they think that. I've watched him play all season for Frankfurt. He's an absolute, unlike the players listed below him. Henry Chase had an injury the whole season. He's off to Leipzig. Nazawa just got there. Koleosha had a horrible and egregious season with Burnley, got benched. Nathaniel Brown.
He's off to Salzburg, not Leipzig.
Salzburg, I'm sorry. Yeah, I get the Red Bull guys mixed up. My bad. But all I was asking, I know back in the day when I got to do interviews and I was invited to these things, when I was in my 30s, I would have asked, because we did ask those kind of questions. Has anybody reached out? I understand that Thomas Dooley is interested, or I understand so-and-so. The years went by. But here we are with what I think is, frankly, could be an extreme difference maker for us going forward. He's a young kid, and he's one of the best. He's being sought out by some of the best teams around the world right now. I just think I would like to see somebody from the media say, hey, have you reached out to this guy? That's it. That's a simple question. And the answer could be really simple too. Yes, but yeah, it's not something we're going to divulge or talk about. Thank you for the question.
And also, all of those players, and we'll take Nathaniel out because I do agree he's a good player, but they benefit from the fact that they are playing in Europe, right? If the exact same players were playing somewhere in Major League Soccer, nobody would be screaming and yelling about them. I mean, literally, your cachet in the eyes of a lot of people automatically increases the minute you hit the tarmac at Heathrow or wherever, De Gaulle, over there. And the reality is that doesn't necessarily mean that you're anything better than a player that's playing here. Could be, but doesn't necessarily mean it just because you've gone over there.
Yeah, certainly Aiden Morris's stock rose from just stepping on the field with Middlesbrough. Did he have a good season when he wasn't injured? Yeah, he played really well. Is he a consummate starter every game? Absolutely he was. But yeah, his stock went up for sure. And I think that that's fine if you want to live in that world. We don't, and you don't. And we watch the games, and then we deliver an opinion. Ashton for $10 says, it's like when Cam Heyward, defensive tackle the Steelers, was asked if he tried to recruit Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. He said, I'm not going to woo him. He said either he wants to be a Steeler or not. Kind of, I guess, but I guess a phone call is more than, at least it's a traditional thing that you do to dual nats just to let them know, hey, we're not recruiting you. Just wanted to give you a call, let you know we're watching. We're interested in your future.
We'd like to possibly bring you in, but
down the road, maybe. Hey, what's your plan? Yeah, that's it.
And I'm not negating the value of the wooing process. And I guess it goes back to college and people making a phone call and people letting you know that you're loved and all that. I recognize all of that. But again, this is where the international game, I see it sometimes differently when it comes to the actual international game. And look, I want to win just like anybody else out there. But it's not about money. It's about representing a country, a single country, ultimately, when you finally make your choice. And you got to be damn sure that that is who you want to represent. Because after all the wins and losses and whether it goes well or doesn't go well, you're standing there and you're putting your hand over your heart and you're singing that song and you are in that jersey. And I do think that is important. And I do think that supersedes all the other stuff. Even if you never win a game, you have to be proud of the fact that you decided to play for X country.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then I think that's a problem.
I think all I'm saying is we're not going to know whether he's Jermaine Jones or he's Timmy Chandler if we don't talk to him. I guess that's my.
Yep. Yeah. And to your point, asking the question, at least getting the answer, that's completely legitimate to ask for.
So I'll keep pushing for that, and I hope next time you get to have Poach on, if they ever let you do that, which they should. I don't know why they wouldn't let you talk to Poach, but I don't think you've done it yet, have you?
No, he hasn't been on the show yet, but okay. we're keeping our powder dry. We got a big year here.
I hope you get him, but yeah, slip that one in for us if you could.
You will.
Go ahead, Brett. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Well, that was our dual nat topic, and then jumping onto our other favorite topic here, and we're gonna hit transfer news, and we can blow through them pretty quickly just to get to the national team. It's not a lot to really talk about when we get to the transfer news. It's just yes, no, etc. I'm sure, but. Yeah. But let's get to talking about that.
Transfer news, transfer news. Who's getting mounted on transfer news? Who's getting ogled on transfer news? Transfer news. Everyone loves that transfer news but me.
Whatever.
All right.
So the first one I want to bring up is Ethan Horvath. He's back with Cardiff City for preseason. He's got interest in England and Belgium, apparently. We can talk about his potential transfer at this point, but I kind of wanted to spin this off a little bit to talk about the current state of U.S. goalkeepers in comparison to the past. I know Derek and I have talked about this ad nauseum, but I wanted to take an understanding of what your take on this would be. Why is there seemingly this big gap of quality goalkeepers that we're so used to experiencing, but not necessarily experiencing now in most people's eyes?
So I guess my knee-jerk reaction to that would be to say that we are a victim of our strategy in that we were so good, like you said, for so many years, and it wasn't just the level of goalkeepers that we produced, but what that level produced was a competition with goalkeepers. I mean, hell, you had a time where you had Casey Keller and Brad Friedel as your goalkeepers. You can't go wrong there. And, whether it's Tim or Tony, and the list goes on and on and on.
Marcus Hanneman, for instance.
Yes, exactly. My kingdom for a Marcus Hanneman right now, right?
Yeah.
So, so maybe as we focused on field players, and we got to improve field players. We took our eye off the goalkeeping ball going forward, and just said, well, we've already established that, so it'll just take care of itself.
Yeah,
I have no data to back that up. It could be just one of these moments, one of these cycles, because we all know it's not always linear, and whether when it comes to goalkeepers or anybody else out there, could be one of these down type of moments. But ultimately, I don't have the answer. Maybe you guys have thought about it and have your theories out there. But it doesn't change the fact that, again, less than a year before the World Cup, and I think that there's not only a competition when it comes to the starting goalkeeper spot, but if you had asked me a couple of years ago with Matt Turner, I would have said he's going to be the goalkeeper for the next 10 years. And so that he has lost his spot, by the way, ironically, taking it from Zach Steffen, who lost his spot, who was going to be the future for the next 10 years and might even come back around it. So there's a lot of drama and, palace intrigue that's kind of going on right now when it comes to this. But it just blows my mind that this is a position of problem when it comes to the national team, given our history.
Yeah, it's crazy because, obviously the role of the goalkeeper in modern football has changed.
Yep.
And that means that a lot of guys, when they go overseas, are going to struggle because they're not really prepared to play with their feet in the way that many of their coaches are going to be asking them to play. This whole,
by the way, just not to interrupt, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the irony of that is that Tony Meola was, for me, the best goalkeeper with his feet that we've had in history. Nick Armando certainly has a claim there.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
for sure. And so, we're talking about Matt, who picked up the game late in his life, but just in general, maybe Steffen's the best goalkeeper we have with his feet. I don't know. Hard for me to say, but I do know that it is a position, as you say, I think that we just assumed would fill itself. Mm-hmm. And
we as a nation didn't predict the change. We've always produced great shot stoppers. You can go to a number of MLS teams. They have solid shot stopping goalkeepers, but there's other aspects to the game that's adjusted over the course of the last 5-10 years that we didn't account for. So
but you care? Do you care that Matt Turner can't play out of the back like that?
Only if coach asks him to,
right.
That was the problem with Craig in that sense. We always played out of the back, and I'm just like, oh my God, he got the ball. God, not again. But Matt Freese in the Gold Cup played a lot of direct balls forward, and that was great. I was never concerned with Matt Freese in goal, except for that one, obviously, flub against Haiti. Disregarded that.
Well, he was hoofing it.
Yeah. We were playing out of the back at sometimes, but more often than not, we were kind of playing a direct out of the goalkeeper.
Which I'm totally fine with hoofing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tim Howard never played out the back. We can go way down the rabbit hole of playing out of the back, and it gets me fired up. But
I know it does. And on our show, we talk about it as well, and it's laughable, honestly, to be that stubborn about it. No, just kick the goddamn ball out, but away somewhere.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. There is stuff that happens now in the game that I would be fired on the spot had I done it back in the day. Some of the decisions that are made, some of the passes that are made with that risk reward factor calculation going on in your head that I can't even understand it. And this adherence to romance. Look, I'm as romantic as they get out there on a lot of different things, but the dying on the hill of playing out of the back at times is asinine. Given what you give, and I know there are coaches that will say yes, but if we get through it, then we have all this space and all that kind of but if you don't, it is a low-scoring game. The most valuable thing in the game is actually scoring goals. So why would you add more risk in areas where you can be exposed than you can? And look, I'm not talking about if you're Man City or if you're Spain or all that kind of stuff. If you have all the best players, I get it. I understand it because you can make up for it. But these knockoff teams trying to play romantic out of the back is just complete suicide.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that old U.S. soccer video where Berhalter was in the locker room at halftime, and he said, "We need to be brave," playing it out of the back. I'm like, no, don't be brave. Just get rid of that shit.
Live to fight another day, man. Every soldier will tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus.
So hopefully Ethan finds his way onto a new team. Well, Cardiff got relegated, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, not he's in League One.
I don't think
he'll be in the mix. I mean, he'll be the goalkeepers that we talk about because he's got an American passport and he's playing goalkeeper at this point. At this point, that's it right now. And again, they're interchangeable. Even seeing Matt Freeze this summer, it was a great moment and viral, and he saved the penalties, which is great. But he never really stood on his head and never really had a game where he made that save that you needed to make and that you didn't expect him to make.
I agree, but
it wasn't really required to.
Right. Yeah. But don't you think Poach is like, this is my guy now?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
But you say he wasn't required to, in that every goal that was scored wasn't necessarily his fault, except for where in the group stage. And we all understand that happens, by the way. That certainly happens. But that it happens when he wasn't getting challenged a whole lot. It highlighted that. But what I'm saying is those goals where you could say, it's not his fault. Those are the moments where our goalkeepers in the past have made an incredible save and said, it is supposed to go in, but I'm so good that I'm not going to let that one go in. And he didn't have that particular moment.
And just because I say, don't you think Poach is going to keep going forward with Freeze as the starter, doesn't mean I agree with it. So I'm just saying that. So.
Yeah, it's a pity that Zach Steffen has gotten hurt a couple times now, because we all know he was in line. And what would he have looked like if he had gotten this run of 8 games or whatever it is, 7 or 8 games through the Gold Cup? And but you got to be healthy, and he just can't seem to figure out a way to do it at the right time.
We knew that he was in line to run the Nations League, but then he got injured, and then he was probably going to run the Gold Cup, and then he got injured.
Exactly.
It's unfortunate. It really is.
Foot herpes. It's a bad thing. All right.
It's the best of us.
Yeah.
All right. Apparently, a bid from Real Sociedad was rejected by San Jose for Nico, and I always butcher his last name here.
Zachary's.
That's right.
I mean, you're Greek. You should know how to pronounce his last name.
Sakidis.
Okay.
If you really want to be all Greek about it. But Zachary's is fine.
Yeah. It's like that player I uncovered who actually was the first American player to ever play in Italy, named Harry Paratestes. Remember him? All right. Our apologies there. Yeah.
Now,
go ahead, Brett.
I was gonna say, I don't know what the bid was. Maybe it was a low ball offer. I haven't really followed San Jose this season by any means.
He doesn't play that much.
He doesn't play. That's what other people were saying. He doesn't play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are they really holding out that this 19, 20-year-old who doesn't really play for San Jose is really going to bulk up on the transfer fees somewhere?
How old is he?
Isn't he like 19 or 20?
I thought he was like 19. I mean, maybe they see something in him that San Jose don't or Bruce doesn't. But on occasion he plays. So I don't know what to say about this one. I am not a big fan of his follower.
20 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a grown man then. All right. Well, you're not playing at San Jose. You're 20. I just don't know what this bid is, so I have no comment.
I don't know. I mean, you had a video after Ajiman went to the championship of Don Garber talking about how, we're in the international market and we're kind of a selling league here and there and stuff like that. But then it's interesting to see stuff like this where you have a player that's not really playing. Maybe he might be. I don't even know if he's in San Jose 2 minutes or anything. But no. I mean, at that point, any bid would be better than a player not playing.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if it was, like you said, a low bid from a, you have to think about the player too, because you're denying him what usually is probably an aspirational type of move for a young player. They've all grown up and they've seen what Europe is and they've seen how opportunities are there. But you're going to get a crash course, whether you're 20 years old or not. You're going to get a crash course in business right now, and business doesn't always work immediately in your favor, and this might be just a negotiating type of situation. So who knows? Maybe they come back and they get a little bit more. But San Jose, in that, other than out of the goodness of their heart, they might say, we're not doing this right now. It just doesn't make sense. I know you're not playing, but we think you're worth more. And
Question. I was going to, sorry. Question for you on this.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever, or tell me if this statement is untrue. A player, once he reaches the age of 19, 20, they're not technically going to get that much better. Their soccer IQ can go up.
Yeah.
The way they look at the game can improve. All kinds of other things can, but their technical ability, I don't think that gets much better by after 20, 18, 19.
It can slightly improve. I mean, you can work on certain things, but I mean, as a whole, you kind of know what type of player you have. And then
I don't think that
IQ will improve.
Yeah, I mean, I think, your touch is your touch. I'm not saying that but I'm not saying you don't practice finishing and reps aren't important and getting into the routine. But it ultimately is, I got a good touch, but I can't find the moment to use that touch. And so that's where the growth comes. And that can come from just playing a lot of games and kind of figuring it out as you go along. It can come from having a good coach who recognizes, hey, you've done this, but actually if you do this, then it's fine. And then when you get to that point, if you don't have the technical ability, then you got a problem. And it's harder and harder as you go along to make up that technical ability. Again, it's not that you let your technical ability erode because you train on it each and every day, but it's much more about be in that space that I never thought about being, or be in that space at a time that I never thought about being, or get to that space in a way that I never thought about getting to that space.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of similar to tennis in the way that, John McEnroe was John McEnroe by the time he was 17, 18 years old. And his technical ability never really got that much better outside of the equipment changes, which the rackets became better, etc. But John McEnroe was a wizard. That's just who he was from an early age, and that never changed. So it's hard to teach that. Either you got it or you don't by the time you're 20, in this case for Nico. So I don't know how much better he's going to get technically, but maybe by going to Real Sociedad, he could gain something from playing in Spain that would help his soccer IQ.
And
that's all
from
I
a
got.
professional standpoint too, because if I were to say pick up golf, and I don't play golf, but if I were to pick up golf, I imagine that the more I play it, the better I'm going to get. But if you're talking about a professional player who's already been in the works for 2-3 years, I mean, again,
or 20 years,
we're talking about a slight variation. Maybe not. Maybe there could be
some of those margins might matter. I mean, if like you said, it's when you look at the women's game, for example, the speed at which the rest of the world has made up dramatically that chasm that has existed for so long, it's not a surprise. But ultimately, it's that little part now that they have to find a way to make up against the elites, and that's the hardest part sometimes. And so, some of those little margins, but if you're a player, you can you playing golf every single day, you're going to get better and better and better and better. But then you're going to reach a point where you are what you are, and then it's the mental game. It's little tweaks here or there that separate you from a really, really good golfer, let alone a pro golfer.
Right. Absolutely. As someone who does play golf. Yeah. Burnt Toast for $5. When are we going to get to State of the Union Unleashed crossover show?
I've never seen a crossover I'm sure they're out there, crossover podcast type of stuff. But, this is my opportunity to tell you guys, and I think I've said this before, this whole ecosystem that exists is so wonderful. And look, I was there back in the day. You mentioned big soccer, even before that, the fanzine type of thing, and that was out there. And then obviously with the technology and, so big soccer and all of the the websites or the blogs and all that kind of stuff. Soccer will find a way. And the opportunity to be able to talk about soccer on a continual basis, as you guys both know, it hasn't always been there, or it hasn't always been easy. And technology has made it easier and has brought us together and has given so many different people a platform out there. And the discussions that we are having, a lot of them, at least I find, really, really interesting. And, I know I get on Fox and I talk about stuff and I do all that, but I have over the years immersed myself in this culture. And I love, whether it's talking to you or anybody else out there, and I love listening to what people have to say, because I think there's a lot of really intelligent, whether I agree with them or not, intelligent and interesting and ultimately entertaining stuff that goes on out there. So whether it's a crossover or anything like that when it comes to the State of the Union, I don't know how Fox would feel about that, but I consider myself, and maybe I'm taking liberties here, that I am at least on the periphery of this ecosystem, and that you let me kind of dip my toe in every once in a while and open up the door or let me in the back. It's kind of cool here. So thank you.
You know what's cool? I mean, we don't have like a official confederation of independent like shows like this, but I mean there is kind of one. Like,
We are the
you know,
leaders, though.
it's like no, we're not. Tactical Manager has been a friend of ours for a long time. I've known Pete for 5-6 years from 11 Yanks. I've known Will more recently, but you know, we all kind of stick together and we talk, we share information, and it's been really good seeing you. And this is something we were urging Filippo to do for a while. Just have him on your show. He'll be great. He'll be great. You guys are going to, and then Will facilitated that happening, which I thought was awesome. And so I just want to applaud you, because not everybody is willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And nor are they capable in some cases of doing that. Because, you know, for whatever reason, that's not a comfort zone for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I deal oftentimes when I'm working on television in, you know, momentary bites of 15 seconds where I have to get a point across. And I love the ability to kind of expound and relax, and even sometimes go on and drone on or pontificate, but still this kind of facilitates it for a sport that you guys know doesn't have a lot of that. Other sports have had that, and maybe even a more traditional sense when it comes to television and radio out there have had that, and soccer has had to kind of find it. And so I love the fact, because ultimately it comes from a place of caring. It comes from a place of passion for this game. And, you know, I love that. Again, I can agree and disagree, and people can like me or not like me, but I want this sport to succeed. And the more people we have barking out and inviting people into the tent, the better it is, I think, for the sport. And you guys do a wonderful job. And you mentioned others out there. And look, there's a lot that I know about. There's a lot that I don't. You know, if sometimes people will come to me, and sometimes, you know, people in college, and you know, they'll ask me for advice, or they'll ask me to appear on their show, and I consider it a form of respect, and I also consider it a form of polite response to, it doesn't matter how many listeners you have, or how many viewers you have, or how many likes you have, and all that kind of stuff. I like to talk about soccer. Yeah. And so that for me is very, very cool. And to see this ecosystem kind of coming above ground and kind of providing that platform for so many people out there to talk about it, and especially when you juxtapose it on how we used to have to talk about it, I think that's a good thing, and I think it bodes well for the future.
And we don't all have to agree either.
Nope.
We don't have to. We disagree with Tact all the time. Tactical Manager, we disagree with Pete. We don't have to agree.
Derek and I disagree about the stupidest things, and our chat's just like, "Mom, Dad, stop fighting."
Yeah.
No, but it's you bring up a good point, and something I was going to bring up a second ago is that it'd be easy for you, you know, being you commentator on Fox, you know, going to Qatar, doing all the stuff, you know, riding a horse, you know, all the fun stuff that comes with this.
Riding a horse, I love that one.
But it'd be easy for you to say, like, well, there's this guy, it's Derek Ritchie, that's reaching out to me, and God, his show only has like 3,000 people sub to it. I'm not gonna do it. Fuck that. Well, I mean, at the time.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just like, you say, I'm not gonna do that. You know, hey, piss off. You know, I'm way too big for this. But I mean, when you do come onto this, you whether it's us, whether it's somebody else, you do get exposed to other ideas that you may not have thought about. We talked about you mentioned the opportunity to expand upon a 15-second segment. Like we talked about the diversity topic earlier today.
Oh yeah,
we could expand upon it. Now anybody who's interpreting what you're saying differently, it just has an agenda at that point, quite frankly, because you expanded upon it. It's clear cut. You know, the talking point about why the goalkeeper seems to have dropped off, and you know, maybe you thought like, well, you know, there's just a lull here or whatever. But then again, well, maybe there is just a training deficit that we have at the goalkeeper standard right now. That I didn't really think about at the time. Just it's the conversations we all could have.
Yeah,
and keeping it light, keeping it fun. That's the key, I think, quite frankly.
Yeah, but we can get into deeper subjects, and like you said, we can get into things that we agree or disagree, and oftentimes in the past, these have been conversations that have happened, when I've been on the road in a hotel lobby or in a bar somewhere, but they're fun. I think that they are an important part of the tribalism of sports. And as we've started the show talking, soccer is not king, okay? But it doesn't mean that we can't have that type of conversation going, and that we have the technology and the platforms to be able to do that now. I think that's awesome, because and not to sound like an old guy, but back in the day, it was a lot more difficult, or it didn't even exist.
Yeah.
And so having people, whether they're eavesdropping in, which are listeners, or whether they're actually participating in it, I think that's a cool thing. And so sometimes people will say, do you ever get irritated when you have to explain soccer to somebody? And I always say, no. I get irritated at people that feel it's beneath them to discuss soccer. I get irritated when people don't have the time of day to include soccer in their sports palette, especially people that are involved in sports. So I will explain offside or the throw-in or anything like that. And it's not a difficult game. It's more complex than people think, but it's not complicated. And I will take the time to explain anything to anybody, because to me, that shows respect. To me, that shows they are willing to have that be a part of like I said, their sports landscape, but they're also willing to show some vulnerability in saying, I don't know about this. And so the last thing in the world that we ever need to do is to be exclusionary when it comes to inviting people into the tent of soccer. We want to be as welcoming as possible. And one of the ways to do that, I think, is to respond to anybody that has whatever level of soccer knowledge with an understanding that, yeah, we'll talk about it and we'll explain and you'll figure it out. And before you know it, you'll be screaming and yelling about the MLS quota for the U.S. men's national team.
Absolutely. And we're fine having that discussion, which we have had on here tonight.
And real quick, I think the conversations that we're having, all the channels that are getting brought up, all the exposure of people discussing the game is what's ultimately going to develop the culture for the game to grow. Whenever they talk about, how are we going to make the game grow? Well, we need to get better coaches. We need to get better facilities. We need to get better this, better that. But quite frankly, from a fan standpoint, in order to grow the game, you have to have people talking about the game.
Yep.
So I think that's where the deep line culture is really going to grow from and expand from.
Yeah. This one's going to be a short one. Christopher Lund. Yeah. Okay. Going to go to Kern. I know you don't like the way I pronounce that, Brett, but in German, it is pronounced Kern, not Cologne. And I could read the German part for you if you want below, but I'm not going to do that. We can move on from this because
people German sucks.
I know this is my German's not that bad. Come on. So Lund moving to Kern is fine, but I'm not sure he's even in the picture right now. So. Unless you got a different opinion.
It's a movement forward, right? It's an upward move from Serie B to Bundesliga.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But I don't know if he's in the periphery even.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Christopher Lund.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Real quickly, Matthew Dominguez for $5 asked if we've talked about Nathaniel Brown. We have. We talked about it about 20, 30 minutes ago. Feel free to go back to our dual nat topic.
That has been hammered in our comments. Talk about Nathaniel Brown. Talk about Nathaniel Brown for like the first hour of the show.
But this person was saying that Anthony Robinson can't play 90 minutes every other day. Why can't he play other? What do you mean? Like he's going to sit out? Or
no, he'll get injured. Or
oh, okay. Well, if he gets injured, obviously. But if he's fit to play, yeah, he can play every single game. And we should be so lucky in the third game next year of group play where we get to sit some players out and rest them going forward.
Right. And again, I just want to hammer through. If you watched Nathaniel Brown play last season, he played left wing back, he played left midfielder, and he played left winger during the season.
There's some versatility there. That's valuable.
Yep.
Yeah. And if there was one player on the pitch that I think could play all 90 every match in the World Cup, it's going to be Jedi.
Yeah. As long as his knee doesn't go out again.
Fingers crossed.
But I think we're fine.
Knock on wood. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
Charlotte's pursuing QPR's striker Charlie Kilman to replace Ajman.
Yeah, a lot of people are confused about this. So just to clarify, people think he played for QPR last season and that they got promoted to no. He played for Leyton Orient, and yeah, he scored a crap load of goals, and now he's back with QPR. He was, I think, the Golden Boot winner in League One last season. Yeah. Yes. So I don't know why QPR would get rid of him, but at this point, because he's finally living up to expectations. But I mean, we'll see.
Well, I mean, QPR said no, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, they say no because it's not enough money, or do they say no because they actually believe that he has matured in a way that they are actually going to use him now? What's that? That's ultimately the question, right?
It's the second part.
He scored like 20 some odd goals.
23.
Yeah. So I mean, they've got to be looking at him saying, well, I mean, they're at some years we're practically a League One team. Sorry for any QPR fans. I may be wrong completely there, but
it's rough.
We think that he may be able to transition it over. I think. But,
yeah. Well, 27 goals for the whole season in all cup games too. So scored a lot of goals. I don't know why you send the guy to League One to get better. He proves he's gotten better. Comes back to the club. You're going to sell him to Charlotte? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's an initial bid, so yeah. You never take the first one.
Right.
Preliminary agreement has been reached between Weah and Marseille for a 5-year contract, and it looks like the bid's going to be for about 12 to 15 million to Juve.
With a mandatory purchase. That's the important part. Mandatory.
Oh, it's for a loan. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a loan for a mandatory. So basically, they're saying you loan him, you bought him.
Just buy him at that point.
Mandatory purchase option. Well, if it's an option, then it's not mandatory. So it's got to be relative to a playing time. Like if he plays this, then it automatically it or something like that. So
yeah.
Well, either way, I don't know about you guys, but for me, Tim Weah, not I know the red card and everything, but for me, over the last cycle, I think he's been our most consistent attacking player.
Solid.
And he's different than Christian Pulisic in the way that he takes players on, obviously his speed. So I hope this move is good because, he was in and out when it came to Juventus, and he's got a history when it comes to France. So hopefully this is something that's ultimately good. I want him to be healthy. I want him to give us that option of speed, because I know when people are doing their best 11s right now, oftentimes I see a lot of people that don't have him. I still have him out there on that right-hand side going up and down as a winger for me on my best 11. So there you go.
Yeah.
About this kind of beat me to my point I was going to ask you. I know that obviously the left and right wing role can be kind of versatile in the sense that they can flip-flop and fluid to an extent. Do you prefer to see Weah out on the right, or do you like him on the left better?
No, I like him on the I like him on the right. I think I like him pushing the ball past and then getting the crossover with his right foot. And then I like Pulisic in the way that he can go out wide, but he oftentimes dribbles in and does that on kind of the off wing, if you will, over there. I had Pepe up there just because. I mean, I don't know if Balogun's going to come good. I mean, Pepe's still coming off of an injury, but it's slim pickings when it comes to that. There are people that have talked about Weah possibly going up to the 9 position, and then you can fit some other people in, and whether it's Luna or who knows, maybe in the future a Reina or something like that. This is for me. It's not a great team, but for me, it's just the best possible scenario.
I mean, it's exactly what we picked.
Agreed, yeah. This is 100% what we said.
We didn't even see yours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, minus Turner. I think I personally have Freeze personally.
And that's and like I said, that's a toss up here. So, what was your thinking on Pepe relative to? I guess it would be Balogun right now as the closest, and we've seen Balogun, and we were all very, very excited. I think fairly so, and he hasn't kicked on, and obviously the injuries here. So, what you think Pepe has matured enough where you're comfortable with him leading the line?
Well, I mean, we're going to find out real quick because he should be the starter for PSV. But can Pepe run the lanes? Yes. Can Balogun run the lanes? Yes. Is Pepe good in the box? Yes. Is Balogun good in the box at headers, etc.? No, he's not. I think Pepe's just a more diverse player who provides not only the lane running, he's a great finisher, he's good in the air.
He's better with his back to goal, too.
I mean, he's just better and overall better player. Now, it depends who the opponent is, because obviously Balogun is faster than Pepe, but generally Pepe was spectacular before the injury at PSV. And, I got to roll with that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the question of, is this as good as it gets? And if it is as good as it gets, is that good enough? I think I don't want to speak for you, but I got to feel that this isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. This is not, but there's no McBride, there's no Josie Altidore waiting in the wings that's gonna come out. So you dance with the one that's there.
I mean, I'm personally comfortable with any of my top three strikers, quite frankly, and that's Pepe, Balogun, and Sargent. I'm more than comfortable with any of those three up there. I think obviously the glaring hole is really going to be Ream at center back, and then our goalkeeper. And I have confidence in Ream, but there's not to say that he's not going to get beat for pace.
Yeah, I mean,
but he
the problem
that most center backs don't.
Yeah, but the problem is the reason why Ream is starting because there's nobody that's really stepped up and taken that position. And so, the pace with Ream, I think everybody recognizes it from the outside. I also think everybody recognizes it from the inside. And I actually think Tim Ream recognizes it.
Oh, sure.
And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get beat for pace, but everybody just has to kind of guard against that. And it's a give and take because I don't think there's anybody that's better at playing out of the back than Tim Ream. And so his ability to find a lot of those passing seams, I think, is going to be really crucial in terms of possession going forward. My problem is, what if Tim Ream gets hurt? Like there's nobody yet. And it's a pity that Miles Robinson got hurt because he's a very different player than he was before that injury. And, who knows what happens in this next year. But again, nobody's really stepped up. And if there ever was an opportunity for a young center back, it's with this national team. And not just an opportunity. Like, if you are halfway decent as a center back, you could start for the national team in a home World Cup come next summer. And yet there's nobody really that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, for a while, it looked like McKenzie might be making some steps forward, but apparently he's taken some steps backward. I mean, especially the end of that Toulouse season. That was rough going.
Well, and you also bring up Miles Robinson, but Miles Robinson got some playing time during the friendlies, but then was like the only center back that didn't get any playing time during the actual Gold Cup.
Yeah, so Zimmerman's kind of leaped ahead of him in a way because at least Zimmerman played. So,
and you mentioned getting better, and I don't think there's anybody that's kind of gotten better more than Chris Richards. And I don't know if this summer, I raised my hand and I said I did not rate Chris Richards. He did not fill me with confidence, but I think he has really improved his game. He hasn't lost any of the personality, which I hope he doesn't. And not that a smile plays, but the smile off the field is wonderful. And then on the field, I think he's gotten down to business and recognized that he can be better and done the things to be better. And so whether it's in possession, whether obviously set pieces and all that kind of stuff, winning. And he's not infallible by any stretch of the imagination, but I love the fact that he has proven to himself and I guess proven to me that he deserves to be there, because there was a time where there was an immaturity, and maybe it's to be expected because he's still kind of a young player, but that has gone away. And so now it's been replaced with a maturity in the moment to get the job done. And, could be just growing up, could be where he is, but I love it.
Yeah,
I had the same mentality with Tillman up until the Gold Cup too, because he hadn't really shown at all for the U.S. men's national team. But the Gold Cup, he finally showed up, and hopefully,
you think he plays with this latest move? And how much does he play? And does that concern you?
They paid a lot. They better be willing to play him.
I suspect he'll get an opportunity. It's going to be up to him to really shine in the Bundesliga.
Yeah. Miguel said something about John Brooks. John Brooks finally came back and played preseason after being injured all last season for his Bundesliga 2 team, and he got re-injured in preseason. So
yeah, but to his point though, this is the same.
He's not coming. He's not saving the day.
No, but his point was that John Brooks came onto the scene in 2013, 2014, and made the World Cup, which is kind of where the scenario where now somebody could step up.
No Kai Banks. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, Okai started every game for Augsburg this preseason. It's been great. He had a great game this weekend. Well, I mean, but he's playing a Bundesliga 4 team or something like that. I can't remember. So that's a wait and see, and that's a large leap to make in 325 days. So,
yeah, coming out of the blue, that'd be the big thing right now. Like, or just an unknown commodity for the U.S. men's national team. I'm like, who's going to be? It has to be a young dual net at that point. That's going to be the out of the blue at this point, because we've tested almost everybody else.
Or it's going to be Zimmerman.
Or it's just going to be Zimmerman. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right.
Since we're talking about the Bundesliga and a transfer there, real quick, what are your thoughts on Josh going to Wolfsburg? Potentially.
I mean, the Josh Sargent question this summer, I think, was interesting in that we don't know yet, but how does Pochettino rate him? And did he not rate him because of where he was playing? And so does this change the dynamic because he goes here? And then for Josh Sargent, is this a step up? And if it is it a De Bruyne-esque type of thing where he stars and looks that much more enticing, and therefore in those 11s that we're talking about, he comes in and kind of takes a hold of that thing? There's a lot of different questions that will be answered at this point, but I think it's a good move. And I still have faith that Josh Sargent can be a better player. But again, it goes back to if this is as good as it gets, is it good enough?
So do you think if he was brought to the Gold Cup, like, say, Tillman was, really didn't have great performances before the Gold Cup, but, against lesser opponents, especially in the group stage, do you not think that would help Sargent regain some of his U.S. men's national team confidence?
He's removed the albatross around his neck.
Yeah, but why wasn't he brought?
Footballing reasons, according to Poach.
Okay.
Which means
I don't rate him.
He didn't like him. Yeah. He played him one game and never played him again the window before.
Well, I mean, he played him in windows prior to that. So it's not that Sargent hasn't had the opportunity under Poach to perform. I think he has a mixed bag under Poach, in my opinion, although I think a lot of people are out there saying, oh, Sargent sucks for the national team. He sucks for the national team. I think that's not a great way to describe what's happened with him. But he's definitely had his opportunities to impress Poach, and to everybody's point here, he hasn't impressed Poach.
But I don't know if you saw this interview, Norwich interview, before he was called up.
Nations League, by the way.
To the Nations League. He did an interview with Norwich TV or whatever, one of the local. And he's like, yeah, I'm really nervous about playing for the U.S. men's national team. I know I haven't performed very well lately with them, and they're expecting me to go out there and score. It makes me really nervous. And, I'm not really the man at the U.S. men's national team like I'm here at Norwich. That's Pulisic. And so, I know I got to go out there and perform. It sounds like, to me, Sargent's all up in his head when he goes it sounds like he's in his own head.
And, had he stayed on, it would have been, we've seen, the reality is that teams that come up go right back down, the yo-yo effect that's happening. And so they would have been under pressure. And for a forward, the worst place that you can possibly be is a team that's fighting relegation, because you're oftentimes, you get very few bites at the apple, and you're oftentimes defending. And so who knows, maybe, and this is where it goes back to somebody we talked about, I don't know, now a couple hours ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, we're getting
the communication. And you wonder, if I was Josh Sargent and this was kind of happening, and I had my aspirations still to, I guess, in any case, get back to the national team and to do good things, I don't know, maybe lobbing in a call to Poch and saying, hey, this is a possibility, and I'd like to get your input at the very least. And it almost, have him be part of it. And how would you see something like that? Not that it's ultimately going to make the decision, and a lot of times it's money or family or all that kind of stuff. But, it would be interesting to know how much communication Poch does or doesn't have, and how much input he may or may not have in terms of these moves. Ultimately, for Sargent, like I said, I hope it goes well, and I hope the Bundesliga effect that we have seen in the past when it comes to American players is in effect, and he becomes the player that becomes that much more attractive to Pochettino going forward. But not a lot of time left.
Yeah, and I would answer you based on what I know so far, and you probably know as well, is I don't think he would call Pochettino, and I don't think Pochettino's going to call him either.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's a whole lot of and Poach has justified this by saying, I treat all the players the same. Nobody gets a special call. I'm not making any special calls to any players. Nobody gets priority, which seems to mean nobody gets a call for the most part, unless there's a reason for a call,
sure,
which is directly related to a recent call-up. So
but that's style. That's management style. And, you can say it's good or bad or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. But, I mean, you back in your day, how many calls you get?
No, there were some coaches that wanted to have a dialogue or wanted to be included. And there were other ones that, to your point, there was a real separation. I mean, it could be that separation can manifest in a million different ways. I mean, literally the way you dress on the sideline, or all that, or whether you go into the locker room with the players, whether you are having a conversation with what they are doing in their club situation. We know that Berhalter and his staff evidently was in contact a lot with a lot of players. Yes. And sending them videos and doing all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's not something that Pochettino wants to do. But also keep in mind, Pochettino's never coached at the international level or the international environment. And so he's kind of making it up on the fly, and it's all relative to a background that is only having coached clubs. So who knows ultimately if it works, whatever he has decided.
It's different.
Yep.
It's different for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, Brett.
One real quick question, and Colin kind of brings it up here. I wanted to ask was, with us being kind of on since Greg came on board, we've been on that 4-3-3 train as far as formation or variations of 4-2-3-1, whatever, or 4-2-1-3, however you want to word it. Different playing styles out of the 4-3-3 ultimately. Are you sold that should be our standard? Or do you see a point where we can possibly go back to a two-striker formation?
4-4-2.
Yeah, right.
Not out of desperation that we need a goal too, and you throw Haji right, and he kind of sits up there with whatever striker starting up there. But going back to an actual tactic or formation and tactic where we have two actual legit strikers, whether it's a second striker or they're just playing off each other. Yeah,
I mean, I know that your ability to be flexible is important, but for the most part, this is the way that this team has played in this 4-3-3. I know my friend Stu Holden is adamant that they should go to a back three, but we all know a back three really is a back five, and it's just disguised as a back five. And I'm not saying that wouldn't work, but he just feels with the players that they have, that would be preferential. And we have seen at times them shift around. I don't see that Pochettino has the time right now to change what they already kind of know, especially when it comes to a back four going to a back three. So I still think it's going to be a back four. And it can look different in people pushing up there. But I don't think that the formation is going to change. And I don't think it necessarily has to change, or that is the major problem with this team. I will say, when I was doing my 11, I was trying to find a way to fit Diego Luna in, and maybe when they are playing in a situation where they have more of the ball, and because there will be, let's be honest, 48 teams in this World Cup, the U.S. is going to get a winnable group. Okay, I'll tell you right now, we don't know yet. I'm telling you right now, those three balls that come out of the glass jar there are going to be winnable games, in that the U.S. can win this group. We will be teams that either we think we're better than, or at the very least we are on the same level. Yeah. So there will be times where the U.S. is going to be on the front foot, whatever you want to call it. And so maybe in that time, getting a Diego Luna in there, and again, I tried to force it in there, but I just couldn't bring myself to bringing Weah out or putting Weah up top or moving some stuff around yet. But who knows? Things can change going forward. So maybe that's where my changes ultimately would happen. But I'm not sure how much it actually affects what you're calling it in terms of the formation.
Right. And we're still kind of all learning Poach.
Yeah.
So far. I don't think anybody, there was a time for 3 years we could literally name almost every single player that was going to be called up,
22 out of the 22.
and the starting 11. Like
Yep.
it was just like clockwork. We knew it.
Yep.
This it's got some twists and turns in it. So.
I hope so. It makes it more interesting, right? And 26 players, next summer, which is going to be good too. So
Yeah. All right, Alexi, thank you for spending a full 2 hours. With
oh
us.
no,
Again.
went by fast. It went by fast. Like I said, just to reiterate, I enjoy talking to you guys, and I thank you for all the work that you do, and I thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure. If you would have told me we would have done this like 5 years ago, I'd be like, I don't know. If you come on our show. But
The funny thing about all that is that when we started talking about doing live streams initially, Derek was like, oh, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour tops.
yeah,
Like, dude, there are people that do like 4, 5, 6 hour live streams. Like, oh, I'm never going to do more than 2. Now it's like we're struggling to get under 2.
yeah, we really are. We have been struggling. So, but we may only have 4,000 subscribers, but they're pretty rabid and they are dedicated. And I want to thank them for all coming out tonight as well and being a part of this conversation. Although we didn't have a lot of time to take your chats because, well, we've been talking.
Yes.
So
quality over quantity, as I always say. So the people out there, thank you for tuning in. And,
yes.
I will see you out there on the road or on your TV screen, and you can scream and yell at me, as we mentioned, each and every day over there on the old X machine, as much as your heart's content, whether you are anonymous or whether you're my son.
Yes. So go check out his show, State of the Union with David Mossy, who is, in fact, a genius.
Love him.
And it's got so much stuff in his head. I would love to go on a one-on-one with Mossy someday.
Oh,
see who knows more. I know he's going to beat me. I know I'm going to lose, but I would love to see that happen. We'd love to have him on the show too, and maybe we will someday. Alexi, thanks for coming out tonight and joining us, and all the best to you and best wishes. And maybe we'll have you back in less than a year next time. But
awesome.
We're never going to harass you.
All right.
You'll
My
know
best
that
to you,
much, right?
you and the family out there, everybody
All
out
right.
there listening too. All right.
Good night, all. Mwah.
That hurt.
Blowjobs are a no for me.
It is a skill. It is a practice skill. It is a necessary skill. Ooh, great
Secret to a great blowjob is saliva, saliva, saliva.
Important for us to learn from this because I think we lose because we beat ourselves.
You need to swallow it too.
I don't understand the problem here.
The people don't understand esophagus is the main player of the game.
Try to stay away from it as much as I can.
You can start by licking the tip.
I didn't understand it, but
Patrick Agyemang to Bambi or